There's a topic, there's a career choice that I'm sure of when I stay general. And I feel like my inner being's on it, and I trust that. And I wonder, am I playing it safe by just waiting and waiting and waiting?
All right, so now let's talk about that. Playing it safe. Playing it safe is playing it smart. Playing it steady.
Okay.
Playing it sure.
Yeah.
Choosing the signal that I want law of attraction to amplify is what playing it safe is.
Okay.
And there are those who will say, well, if you don't take a risk.
Yeah.
But there is risk in taking a risk.
So why take a risk? Right.
Not a big risk. It's just a risk of a big wobble over which you can regain your control. You can start over and over and over again because you can just keep picking the blocks back up.
And will you help me find language to say to people, because a lot of people in my life know this and wonder why I'm not doing anything, why I'm not taking action towards this thing.
Time isn't right. I have learned about my experience that I take a gut check. And I've learned through experience that when it feels right and I proceed, it turns out really good and it's fun along the way. When I proceed before I get that feeling, it's a rougher ride that I'm not willing to take. And then they might lecture you a little bit about the no pain, no gain thing, but they're wrong.
Okay. One more question. There have been several times in the past, and mostly this workshop, where I'll think an exact sentence and you'll say it.
So you're tuning in. Okay. More of you are getting that too. You're tuning in. You're receiving the block of thought. In other words, we're not keeping this a secret.
Oh,
we're broadcasting.
I see.
We're broadcasting.
I see. Okay.
Good.
Okay. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you very much. Love you.
I've had this conversation with you so many times. And first I'm so glad you called me up here because I have so much energy running through me that it's overwhelming.
Overwhelming energy is a bit of a wobble.
Yes. So
that's worth thinking about, isn't it? In other words.
Yes. Well, also coffee with chocolate might have a little bit of an effect. Adrenaline, happiness, this overwhelming love.
So how much benefit is there in the word overwhelming?
Not much.
When you say overwhelming, does it add to the wobble or decrease the wobble? Interesting, isn't it? Not that your words can necessarily change anything, but your understanding of in reaching for. So you can say that better. Wouldn't you like to say it better? We know you want to say it better because you know we'll get after you if you don't. I know I'm in a good place. That's why I got called on. I must have been enough imbalance that I got called on.
It's as if I have this beautiful channel of energy, which we all have, that comes into my being. I would like to tell you a story that I was listening to one of your movies, and I was just in my closet, and I started to cry. And this has happened to me before, but it's not a cry like, oh, what's going on? Like, it's this most beautiful love. And I'm like, what's
crying is always releasing resistance every single time.
Thank you so much for that. And a voice spoke to me and says, Melissa, you know you're never have been normal, as if I've always been very perceptive. And it says to me, I have to take responsibility. And since
Who said that to you?
This voice.
Don't listen to that voice.
Okay.
Well, you're translating it through a little bit of wobble.
Okay.
But you don't have to take responsibility. That's a little dictatorial.
Okay.
And your inner being is never telling you what you're doing wrong that you should be doing differently, always calling you toward what you're wanting. But because there's a little bit of wobble in it, you're translating it that way.
Okay.
In the early days, Jerry and Esther had friends that the only people that knew about the weirdness of Abraham in those early days. And they were living in Phoenix at the time, and they decided to play a game where their friends would go hide, and then Jerry and Esther would use Abraham to come and find them. Phoenix was 50 miles this way and 50 miles that way. It was a huge area. And they said, go anywhere in the city and we will come and find you. In those days, Esther was not receiving us verbally in this way. It was impulse as she was getting this through the typewriter and so forth. And she would say to Jerry, they would come to an intersection and Jerry would say, which way? And Esther would say, it's not that way. Which meant it's that way, but Esther was translating it about the way it wasn't rather than the way it was. And it really is sort of splitting hairs, because the impulse, you're the one that is translated into what it isn't, but your inner being is always guiding you toward what it is, always, 100% of the time, every time.
So when you start to sort of, for example, leaving here yesterday, I live in Cancun, and I went to give a sound meditation. I love doing this. It's such a beautiful journey that I am joining with someone, and I want to make sure that I'm doing it correctly. I mean, I just sort of surround the person with so much love, and then I take them to this place of source within the galaxy and the universe, and I just tell them, I kind of let them just kind of bathe in that existence of themselves, and when they come back, they're just like, yesterday a young guy came to me because he was chosen. And I just said to him, do you feel lucky? And he says, yes. And I said, well, I want you to bathe in this beautiful existence that you have. And I guess my point of this conversation is, I said, I used to not speak this way. You understand what I mean? And I just, now I have a TV program after I got things happened to me. And now the TV program is going to go nationally, and it's going to be on international television. Thank you. And I have so much information coming to me, and I want to be able to...
Well, first, let us say to you...
Figure out how to say it.
The information doesn't come to you if you're not ready to say it. So if it's coming to you, and if it feels good to you, that's all that matters. When you receive it and when you say it, then everything's in alignment. There's no wobble.
And to close, I'm learning... closing this gap between feeling like the bizarre person that has these things I have to say and believing that the people are going to think I'm weird.
Oh, yeah, you don't want to amplify well-being.
Well, it seems that everyone wants to feel...
Isn't that interesting? Everyone wants to feel good.
Yes.
And yet some have too big of a wobble to go easily into what feels good.
Yes.
And so that's what this room full of teachers is all about. You just help yourself and then help others to...
So I just put out the information because this is what has come to me, and those
because you have to express who you are from your alignment. Yes.
Correct. Thank you very much. And those who want to be on this frequency will turn into it, and those who don't will, like you said, maybe it will be in their drawer, and they'll pick it up one day. And
as you tend singularly and specifically to your own alignment and allow everything else to follow its natural path, then their unreadiness will not cause you to wobble. If you don't take responsibility for how they receive, then you'll stay steady.
Love it.
Yeah.
I hope one of my friends took notes. I think that's all.
You won't forget that, because that's what you came to hear.
And I've had this conversation with you so many times, and I have it written down, and I said I will be called at the correct moment. And I just feel such an overwhelming, well, it's not overwhelming. I have so much love.
I am up to speed with
the
exhilaration that I feel about all of this. I was born for this. My trajectory has been in place for a very long time. I've been feeling my way along my path for a long time and knowing the rightness of my path. That's the reason that it was so undeniable for me. And while I'm embarking on something that feels bigger, it doesn't feel any less steady, because it's a path that I'm so well acquainted with. I know what the path feels like. And when you are comfortable on your path, it doesn't matter where it leads.
It could lead to a forest by myself. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Very good.